This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is a very important video. I'm not sure if it'll be up long because I have a feeling that somehow it'll get taken down, but it's important information that needs to be spread out there. Hopefully it stays up and other people mirror this video so it gets around. But this is in regards to a connection between the Waldorf schools, which I will expose and show you that there's over 800 Waldorf schools in America that teach Satanism. Flat out teach Satanism to the kids. And of course, a connection to Comet Ping Pong and James Alefantis donations, as well as holding events at Comet Ping Pong. And I'll show you how these networks all work together, because a lot of you ask and you say, well, how does this happen? A kid is born with satanic parents, but where do they go to public schools? How does this whole thing work? Well, it starts with these schools like this. The Waldorf school, which teaches anthroposophy, which is the same thing that well-renowned Satanist Helena Blavatsky was teaching, and these schools were formed by Rudolf Steiner. Now, let's begin with how this works, because these teachers who go through these schools, usually they're some type of witch or occultist. They are trained in teaching the Luciferian doctrine to these students. And the curriculum, flat out, that they learn on how to teach, even tells these teachers that and educates them on how they need to teach these students. In the Waldorf teacher training program, on page 54, most of that which contributes to our work as teachers, preparation work, artistic work, even meditative work, is under the guardianship of Lucifer. We can become great teachers under his supervision, for he is responsible for much that has blossomed in the unfolding of civilization and culture in the past. This is in the training guide for teachers who are learning this anthroposophical doctrine. Lucifer, they are told, is the god of light. And this all goes back to one Rudolf Steiner, a former teacher at one of the Waldorf schools. Alice Shapiro wrote an article and talked about in September of 2005 how the high school students, teachers, and staff members went to what was called a communication retreat on an island set up for summer camps. So they were taken to an island. The article goes on to say the stage goal of this 5-day activity of having students sit in a large circle, 67 in total, for 6 hours, divided by 3 sittings, where they had to sit and meditate in complete silence. So this is all this stuff here about meditation, as far as meditation and yoga and all this stuff that Crawley teaches. This is all to access the spirit realm and to access satanic deities and demons. That's what these people do. So they had these students sit around in a gigantic circle. It says the stated goal was to bring members of the group to one consciousness of one thought. By the end of the second day, many students were intimidated by this process and were not able to express themselves. Many students showed signs of restlessness, agitation, and they were clearly uncomfortable. They were not allowed to call their parents privately. Some students called this cult indoctrination and refused to attend the meetings. Brainwashing and indoctrination are defined as unethically manipulative methods to persuade others to conform to the wishes of the manipulators or handlers, often to the detriment of the person being manipulated. Thought control begins by having individuals reveal things about themselves they would not normally reveal. Some students expressed feeling inadequate for not wanting to speak. Students who refused to attend were threatened with expulsion from the school. Students who followed directives were praised by the teachers, by the parents, and all the people involved. This is a common theme that we see. This is part of mind control. This is part of MK Ultra. This is part of trauma-based mind control, and we see this even throughout the Masonic lodges around the world, that they are to reveal secrets and all these things that they would never tell anyone. We see this even as an indoctrination in Skull and Bones, and these other secret societies that college campuses have, even as an indoctrination into fraternities, which is just another place, another breeding ground for these people, to reveal inner dark secrets. So then they have secrets that you don't want anyone to know about. So they can either blackmail you into staying inside the occult and use it against you in the future. So Steiner Waldorf schools, which are quote-unquote teaching anthroposophy, are linked to theosophy and the teachings of Blavatsky as well as Crowley. Steiner, the guy who started these schools, was the head of the German Theosophical movement before he left and set up his own cult. Waldorf schools are a religious messianic type cult built on the dogmas of theosophical principles and beliefs put in place by a charismatic cult leader who is Rudolf Steiner, who is a self-proclaimed clairvoyant wielding his own style of his own New World Order. In a lecture that he gave in Zurich, October 27, this is Steiner now, this is the guy who founded these schools. He attributes man's evolution to Lucifer, saying Lucifer's wisdom was at the utmost benefit to man in that evolution, brilliant and certain way, graduated according to different peoples and races among which it has spread. The whole of the Gnostic thought existing at the time of the mystery of Galatia, an impressive wisdom shedding light deep into cosmic realities, this whole Gnostic knowledge was inspired by the impulse coming from Luciferian forces. One must not say that Gnostic thought is therefore false. One is merely characterizing it by saying that it is permeated by Luciferian forces. This is the teachings of this man who now has over 800 schools in America. 800 schools in America where the teachers are taught to teach Luciferian doctrine. This is going on around our country. So for people out there that go, well, I don't know how this is going on, and how are kids getting indoctrinated with this Satanism? And I talk about the After School Satan program. Well, this is another way. Okay, these schools that are set up to be private or prestigious or expensive schools like Waldorf, they're breeding grounds for them. They're breeding grounds for brainwashing, for using trauma-based mind control methods on these children. And you can even see it. Look at the logos for these places. This is the one in Washington, which is directly linked to James Alefantis and Comet Ping Pong. Look at the logo, 666, right there, right in your face. Here's another one of the schools, Emerson Waldorf School. Is that familiar? Does that pedo symbol look familiar to you? Of course it does. 3 times now, 2014, 15, and 16, as far back as it can, people are able to find the links to this, shows that this school, specifically in Washington, D.C., was holding fundraisers at Comet Ping Pong in December of each year. You can see it. It's right there. It's right on their website. Friday, December 18th, 12:30 dismissal. No aftercare. Alumni reception, 9 p.m. at Comet Ping Pong. Alefantis is a donator to this school. A donor. He donates money here. Right? And we've seen who donate money to Alefantis. Clinton, Soros. The list goes on and on. You see how this network works? You see how they scratch one another's backs? They work together? It's about indoctrinating everyone with the Luciferian doctrine. That's what the Masonic lodges are teaching. That's what these Waldorf schools are having the teachers even teach that to the students. And like I say every day on this channel, we see it more and more in the mainstream because they're using the do what thou wilt mindset, which is the core of Crowley's teachings, along, of course, with the black magic and the pedophilia that's involved. So people are being indoctrinated this without knowing it. Plus, they're using these schools, which have these, satanic logos. You have the 666 for the Washington Waldorf. If you even look on their Facebook page, there's pictures of butterflies all over the place. Butterflies, as I've exposed on this channel, it's a symbol for monarch programming. It's a symbol for MK Ultra. The programming, the trauma-based mind control they put on these children to brainwash them. You see how they do this and how they get away with it? Because this would be, oh, whoa, this is artistic. That's what it really is, because it's all artsy stuff. They talk about art, and arts and crafts and sciences and all this stuff that they spew. And people go, what's wrong with that? Because they don't believe Luciferian doctrine exists. But these schools were set up to teach this. Rudolf Steiner was teaching this. These are his schools. He's connected to Blavatsky. What more do you need to know? Blavatsky was a Satanist, a sick witch of a human being who's spending eternity with a one-way ticket into hell. And really this theosophy that they were teaching, along with Steiner and her, was also being taught by Aleister Crowley. So what else do you need to know about these connections? So you see how this all works and how it all connects with each other? How these schools are lined up even with these pedo rings. They even use the symbols in their logos. I'm not saying that these kids are getting pimped. I don't know. We can only assume, right? That some of the younger students might be involved in the trafficking. But the one thing you know for sure is that the teachers there are teaching occult doctrine, the Luciferian doctrine. They are brainwashing, indoctrinating children with this. And that's what they're teaching. Then they're sending these kids off into the real world. Well, it's not really a real world, a rigged world, this fixed matrix we live in. And these people are becoming what? Politicians, instantly getting, good corporate jobs because they've already been indoctrinated with it. And that's how they communicate. Oh, you went to Waldorf? Okay, so we know that the student's been indoctrinated with Luciferian doctrine. Okay, great. So you want to be the vice president of the company? That's how it works. They know where the breeding grounds are. So even if a Satanist doesn't know the other person's a Satanist on a resume or something like that, they know through connection. Waldorf. Oh, okay, so you went to the Waldorf schools. Interesting. There you go. It's not just through handshakes and symbols. It's through networks as well. So this is a connection between the Waldorf schools, which, like I said, are connected fully to Luciferian teachings. They even tell it flat out in their teacher guides, like I read earlier, that most of that which contributes to our work as teachers, preparation work, artistic work, even meditative work is under the guardianship of Lucifer. We can become great teachers under his supervision, for he is responsible for much that has blossomed in the unfolding of civilization and culture in the past. You have teachers even coming out who've left Waldorf, who've been threatened, who have exposed going to random islands and doing these, holding hands in a gigantic circle. What does that sound like? That's witchcraft. And meditating. They're contacting demons. These people are Satanists. This is real and it's going on. So spread the word about it, because this is the kind of thing that I know will blow some people's minds. It doesn't surprise me, because they do use these schools to indoctrinate children. Private schools, you can look for the symbols and the logos and see what they are before you even look into it. Right? You can see the 666. You can see the pedo symbolism. It's unbelievable. But this is how they communicate and operate. And if you talk about this kind of stuff, you're crazy. They can dismiss it, because people can't wrap their heads around any of this stuff. But we can. And hopefully people listen to this channel, you can. And you can start telling people and you can start helping. Because this is a satanic society that we're living in, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. They are breeding more and more Satanists. They are taking these children and indoctrinating them with this Luciferian doctrine, this Masonic doctrine. And we need to make sure that people are picking up their Bibles and finding Jesus Christ, because salvation can only be found through Jesus Christ. And there are a lot of people who are going to perish for denying Jesus as the Messiah. And we need to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen, especially the innocent ones out there that are being led through this unfair, disgusting, sickening mind control methods that these Satanists use, because they know they flat out can't tell everyone this stuff. Because people will be like, this is lame, this is embarrassing, this is, they would be thrown into prison cells, obviously. But to get people to worship Satan, because Satan's such a pathetic loser, they have to use mind control to convince people to do it. So it's not a fair tactic, but it's the one that they're using. So it's important to realize that mind control is real, that these signs, these symbols are real, these schools are there, they're breeding grounds, and to share the information with other people out there. I thank you for listening to today's show. If anyone out there wants to mirror this on their channel, you have my permission to. Getting the word out is what matters most, especially when it comes to, any of this stuff involving Pizzagate, Pedogate, these schools being breeding grounds. It's really, really scary stuff. But we have to raise awareness on it, so feel free to mirror it if you'd like. I thank you guys again for listening. God bless all of you and your families.